welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I'm your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in I'm in airplane mode, but the vape is a little stuck right now. Don't worry about it. And with me is a man who needs no introduction. How you doing today, my one black friend?
I am okay, Pakalaka. Good to see you as
All
always,
right,
and thank you
yeah.
everyone for
Thanks
joining
for
us.
everybody for joining us. A few things going on today. One, we won't be before you long. We're doing a bit of a abridged episode. I have a lot going on, and as does my one black friend. Um, So just a heads up. Also, we're going to be trying out a new virtual office program. We are moving away from Gather and moving over to a platform called Work Adventure. So if you are available to help us test out this space, that will be great. We'll jump in sort of at the end of this stream and see how it goes. So I have pinned the link to the top of the chat. There's also a link in the description, and there's also a new command. Exclamation point HQ has replaced the command exclamation point gather. So, use all those different ways to know where to go. But basically, the link is in the description. It's also pinned, and you'll see it periodically in the chat. But if you're available after the stream to jump in for a little bit, help us test things out later on, please do. That link may change. That may not be the main link going forward, but at least for today, that's what the deal is. So, appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this thing, man. There's really kind of something that happened, and then we're gonna kind of talk through the response about it, I guess, a little bit. So let's jump into this clip. Basically, this is a clip of Snoop Dogg talking about a recent trip to the movies. Sounds like he is with one of his grandchildren. Um, and his comments started a whole bunch of controversy. So trigger warning for just sort of routine LGBTQ, bigotry or phobias or whatever. All right, let's go ahead and play this clip.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz, the Lightyear. I think it's
yeah,
called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, it fucked me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
It's basically like a baby New York.
All right, I don't know why my autoplay is on, but that's the clip, y'all.
I took
And
my
go ahead.
Just freeze that frame right there. Can you pull up a second window that has the Geico Gecko in it and do a side?
No, I don't think I could do a side by side.
Please.
Not with this software. But yeah, there's the gecko.
And go back to Snoop.
He's got the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. You see my point. Wow, he looks like the Geico Gecko.
All right. So first thing is, I don't believe this story. I don't believe this story. Now, the first time I heard this and this whole thing went viral and, playing for the conversation, I have far other issues with this that we'll get into. But now that I'm hearing it again, I just don't believe the story. How old did he say his grandson was?
Grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's
yeah,
called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer is in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, it fucked me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
Basically,
So yeah, now he's just scared to go to the movie. Okay, so he doesn't say how old the grandson is.
I'm assuming with those kind of questions, maybe between 5 and 7 years old, 4 and 7 years old, maybe. It's just a guess.
He's got 7. Okay, that's what I figured. It's kind of hard to figure out because I figured he's got a bunch. So we don't know what this grandkid is. But let me just say a few things up front. I don't believe him. First off, I don't think this is how kids talk. I don't know any children that talk this way. Children, that just doesn't strike me as a thing children say. It also doesn't strike me as you are Snoop Dogg. You are going to the movie with your grandkids. And y'all just having conversations in the middle of the theater. Like I don't believe that. I think Snoop Dogg, like most people, has coached his grandchildren on this. He didn't say it's the first time he's been to the movies with his grandkids. Everybody knows you ain't really supposed to be talking in the middle of the movie theater. But further than that, you're just gonna have he's just gonna pipe up with this whole thing. I just don't believe. First off, kids are not that stunned by this. I don't think this is really an issue for children. This was an issue for him. And if a child does pipe up, a lot of times during the movie, it's just shh, we won't talk during the movie. So I highly doubt that this child just refused to continue watching the movie until he had an adequate explanation of how these two women could have a baby together. Also, there's all sorts of great answers: previous relationship, adoption, surrogacy.
True.
Just okay, and we're done. And this is the silliness of so much of all of this stuff to me. Is honestly these people, I used to say they play dumb so they could stay dumb. They weaponize their ignorance to a level where they're just lacking basic stuff, and everybody plays all cool with it. Here's another thing I want you to notice about this clip that's very interesting.
I took my grandson.
Pay attention to this.
What was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
Yeah, with Kiki Palmer is in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama,
so far
they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh shit.
There. This there's something going on with that laugh. First of all, I can just tell you what that laugh feels like to me. That's the laugh that feels like either when somebody's in the presence of a celebrity and they just have to make sure they stay in that person's good graces, so they are just floored by everything they say is so hilarious. And it also reminds me of something people do, you know, when you got a little crush on somebody or maybe you're interested in somebody, and so you're sort of, you know, over laughing to everything. But listen to this reaction. She says she laughs like this is the funniest thing she ever heard.
Move on into the space years, they move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. They just said,
like, to me that laugh is awkward, forced, and overdone. But it brings up a really good point in this whole thing, that is especially going on with black people, which is it's this need to go along with this stuff for the culture. Like, there's this need that people have. It's like when black folk get together, and it is prejudiced and it is bigotry to me. But what I'm getting at is the woman herself probably doesn't share that feeling. She probably would not say that. She probably would not tell that same story. She is not baffled as to how these two women could have a child. She doesn't really, right? But what it is when you're around somebody, you got to go along. So she's doing this to conform. She's doing this to fit in. But that, in many ways, is what he is doing. It's like he's doing the same thing of this sort of performative bigotry, this sort of performative anti-wokeness that so many people have gotten into. And listen, y'all, I have no love for Snoop Dogg anymore. Okay, this man is full-blown MAGA, you know, performing at the president's inauguration and party, and then performing at the crypto ball and all of this shit. Okay, he's just, to me, he is just totally MAGA coded at this point, and really kind of living off of the reputation from, I guess, 20, 30 years ago of I'm Snoop, I'm cool, I smoke a lot of weed, I'm a Crip, I'm okay. So and it's a whole weird tap dancing thing going on with that, right? Because again, bro, you're Snoop Dogg. You were one of the pioneers of gangster rap. And do you think them conservatives were like rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice, lay back with my mind on my money and my money on my... No, bro, they were...
A lot of them were in their youth.
Okay, maybe, but my point is that's not what the conservative movement has ever been about. Actually, it was mass satanic panic. Hip hop was the worst thing ever. Oh my God, the violence and the sex and the drugs and the...
But those were the adults back then. Not
but now them kids have grown up to be them same conservative adults who are now again attacking everything about our culture. But that's what I mean about the coon and the tap dancing. Like, he is on the side of these conservatives who, if it was up to them, you know, I hate to say this, but in many ways, like if I'm really honest about how I really see things, y'all, it's like they're trying to ban everything. And a lot of it they're doing through censorship and basically like pornography. Like, if y'all think I'm playing, like, this is a big thing right now to where like they're censoring video games and, you know, they're having like Steam try to remove all of the games from their store that have adult content, which there was a lot of like gooner games on there or whatever. But that same thing that then wants to go to age verification for logging into certain websites and all of this. It's just like, bro, how do you not understand that the MAGA crowd that you're selling out for is violently anti-black, violently anti-hip hop, literally tried to cancel is not even the right word, tried to just straight up extinguish hip hop. Yeah, it's just it's terrible that he doesn't see it. And believe it or not, y'all, he's not even the main one I'm trying to drag today. But I want to let my one black friend get in here.
Well, I just obviously I don't completely agree, but I do think I've worked in the entertainment industry for nearly 3 decades, so well, I guess over 3 decades basically. There have for the host, she is trying to keep her job. If she is challenging him in a way that might make him uncomfortable, he may never come back on, and other people might stay away. So she might be laughing in order to keep her pretty good, well-paying job that she's got going on. And she may not agree with him in the least bit. She might actually disagree, but the integrity goes out the door to keep the money coming in the door for a lot of people. We've seen that time and again. And then sometimes when these show hosts get fired, you see who they really are when they do their own podcast, and they're free to say whatever they want. So I kind of think that might be what's at play with her. As far as he goes, maybe he just doesn't know any better. Being in the entertainment industry himself, he certainly probably has met a lot of lesbians and gay people and things like that, and interacted with them without anything like this being
So
a
part of the
surprise to
commentary on
him.
him is that he's Snoop
He
Dogg, man. His videos had all the girls and the girl on girl and the girls doing girls and the we on three way and like the whole hip hop is steeped in that, you know. And so there's no way. And see, that's part of the commentary about this whole thing that's been great, which is like, you know, because in that context, it was seen as for the men, right? It's like girl on girl, but it's really about girl on girl for the pleasure of the men, or girl on girl so that the rapper ends up in a threesome, you know, two chicks, and we gonna hopefully they menage before we reach my garage. Okay, that's Jay-Z, but the same culture, right? And they're all in that. Matter of fact, you know, they've all been on shows in stuff where they're dealing with multiple women and things like that. So again, it's performative. There's absolutely no way
Mhm.
that he, you know, has not had enough life experience. Matter of fact, most people say he has had more than adequate and more than most to be around that stuff and understand that there's really nothing to it. And again, like, you've never heard of surrogacy, never heard of adoption, don't know anybody with children from a previous relationship, no one in your family or extended family is LGBTQ and has figured out how to have a child. Like, I have a lesbian cousin with a family. Like, most people, sometimes it's just, you just married. Sometimes it's not even from the previous relationship. Sometimes you go into a new relationship and it's just their kids. And you say, that's my child, or we had this child together, whatever people want to do. It really doesn't matter. But the other thing is children understand these things. And, you know, I really don't, I highly doubt this story happened the way he said it happened. I think if anything, maybe the kid got excited. Maybe the kid saw some representation. The kid was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And then I don't know, but I really don't believe these stories. You gotta understand that people lie, y'all, and celebrities and people tell stories and they exaggerate and all of that stuff. All right, go ahead.
Right. And well, hold on. I think because we don't have the benefit of the full interview, we may be missing out on some context. It may be that he felt kind of out of touch, you know, by looking at that, like, hey, what's going on here? And like, this kid's noticing this. Maybe it's about the child being very perceptive
No,
for
no,
their
no. This
age.
is about.
Again, I
No,
don't
well,
have
I'm
the
just
full
saying, even from what
context.
he's saying, it's clear
I can only determine
what
so
this
much
is
from what I've
about. This
seen.
is about they're pushing the woke everywhere, and now I can't even go to the movies without this agenda being in there, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to explain this to children. That's what this is. This is don't expose. I don't want to be exposed to this stuff. And hey, them depicting this family, this homosexual family in a children's animated cartoon movie with absolutely zero sexual content, I am sure, is too much for these people. And again, I'm gonna just remind y'all, and other people have talked about this, but anytime you hear that talk, anytime you pull up on that person and you ask them one simple question: when was the last time you asked a 6-year-old if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Okay, because all of them do it. All of them do it. Okay, so when you are so don't, I don't, it's like their whole, oh, they're young and they're kids and they shouldn't be it's like that's bullshit, because anytime you get a little girl and a little boy together, you're, oh, they're so cute, we're looking, oh, they're gonna get married, we're already planning their wedding, and oh, we have to get them back together for more play dates, and literally when these people roll up on a child, usually one of the very first questions they ask him, oftentimes after hitting on the child, right? All the time a grown woman will roll up to a young boy and be like, oh my goodness, you are so handsome. I bet all the little girls love you or chasing you around. Yes, do you have a girlfriend, or you got like 3 girlfriends? You little playboy. We love to talk to kids like that. So we're not feeling you when you flip it up and all of a sudden you just can't handle, this type of thing being in a movie. And really, to be honest with you, this is incredibly weaponized, and we should see it right now in the moment that we have as enough to throw this man off the bridge. And I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, everything is about context and everything is about the moment. You got to understand right now, it's 2025, dog. The world is burning. LGBTQ people continue to be at the forefront of the persecution. There's all sorts of anti-LGBTQ legislation going on. Right now, this community is having an especially difficult time, okay? And what one aspect of remedying this situation is normalizing, just making it understood. These people are in our communities, they're in our lives. We love them and they have every right to, participate in anything the rest of us do. And so something as innocent and simple as just having representative characters in movies and in entertainment that really, I would say, really contribute to culture. Everybody really, watches animated movies and Disney movies and Pixar movies and all that type of stuff. But especially stuff that's geared towards younger people, that's a huge part of the solution. And so when these buffoons go and clutch their pearls over this stuff, it's actually really harmful. It's actually really, really harmful. It's really, really dangerous. It's not cool. It's not something to be joking about, because you are undermining the normalization of this community. And there is, and even as Black people, we have to admit, there's no community that we would put even on a par with Black folk in terms of how desperately they need to be advocated for, protected, and normalized in this moment. And there is a chilling effect. There is a chilling effect where, when these people go crazy and, eventually start calling for boycotts and all this other stuff, or even just all of the negative publicity in the press, God forbid these movies don't do well, which is it's always a factor with a movie. You never know how a movie's really going to do. But, we've seen recently where, like, for instance, The Color Purple was a really huge movie with a ton put into it, really came out to roaring success. But when some of that behind the scenes drama got exposed, and all of a sudden we started hearing that the producers wasn't treating the talent well, particularly with black women and Oprah and Tyler Perry, all of that got caught up. It hurt that movie. And many people would say killed that movie because, again, so much was laid out that, the economics just didn't work out the way those people had intended to. Same thing here. Enough of this stuff hurts a movie's performance or something like that. Then the next time the movie makers cave and they decide not to put any characters like that in the movie just to avoid the controversy and people talking about it in the wrong light. So that is exactly right there how damaging all of this can be. Because even if the movie flops because the movie sucks, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I can tell you if it's good or bad. But even if the movie flops because the movie sucks, a lot of times the cognitive dissonance and the cope will cause people to think, oh no, the movie flopped because it was too woke, it had these characters in it. And then again, people are that much less likely to go that route next time. When really we need to be going in the opposite direction, which is why are we still making like 3-hour movies or whatever it is, and there's only like one clearly, LGBTQ situation in the movie, when in reality movies should be littered with diversity. There should be all different types of races and cultures and genders and neurospicy. We're still literally living in the time when inclusion is literally like that one character or like those two characters, which shows you we're still treating these populations like they're niche, like they're weird, and like they don't really belong. When it's a fantasy, it's a cartoon. Even if you don't think it's realistic, pretend it's a cartoon. Pretend it's more diverse.
I have to disagree. I have to disagree, dude. I've been working in the. This is my first year not in the entertainment industry for decades. Okay, I've met the writers, I've met the producers, I've met a handful of directors. I've worked on set. I've been in front of the camera. I've paid for the camera. I've talked and met with people at the studio level that are executives. They want to make money and they have an incredible understanding of what audiences want. Internationally, they have this understanding. The movie that you and I go see here in the United States isn't necessarily the same cut that they'll show in China or Vietnam or South Africa. It isn't necessarily the same. So they are after dollars. Don't think, if you want to think of it another way, you can. But I just want you to understand they have a firm understanding of how to make money off people. And sometimes whether or not something is going to be a hit or not is a guess, but that's not most of what they do. Most of what they do is calculated and they understand, okay, we'll have this or that sort of mix of characters, this or that sort of mix of ethnicities, or Denzel Washington wants to be in it. They'll change all sorts of stuff because they know if we hire Denzel Washington to be in this movie, we can count on $40 million worth of business just off him. Samuel L. Jackson, okay, he might be worth about $62 million worth of business. Definitely put him in the picture if he wants to be there. They will change all sorts of stuff just to make a buck. It is, please don't think it's about Hollywood being
No,
woke
I never said they
like
are.
that.
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying exactly the opposite. I'm saying it's all about the bottom line. I'm saying they're not woke. They've never been woke. The only people who talk about Hollywood being woke are far right conservatives who again literally will go to like a movie and hear like 3 languages in the movie and decide that it's a total DEI project. I would say Hollywood, first off, I'm not really into pop culture. I think pop culture, because capitalism ruins everything. Pop culture can't do what it really should be doing, which is push us, challenge us, help us grow. Instead, like YouTube, it's the tail chasing the dog. So what happens is everything is awful, and then you blame the audience, and that's what I'm saying, because it's like if what you are told or what you get concerned about is the perception that your movie is focusing on DEI or focused on representation, whether it's true or not, the perception is that hurts the performance of the product. And so then there's the chilling effect, which is people don't want to do it the next time. Yeah, they do. And they justify being that way based on what they think, like you said, the audience wants. And so that's a whole, and that's why a lot of things in America suck. It's not, this ain't really the episode to get into it, but it's the reason sports suck now. It's the reason UFC and all of these things suck right now. It's because part of what has happened is due to the rise of MAGA and fascism and the fact that they actually won that last election and stuff. People saw that as, oh, the writings on the wall have changed. Conservatism is back in vogue, back in force. And so things started to move in that direction. So everything became something to where, they had to appeal to conservatives and not be too woke and all of this type of stuff. And yeah, I think it's actually hurt a lot of things, but they can justify it by saying it's what the audience wanted. Hey, the audience wanted basketball players to shut up and dribble. Hey, the audience said they're going to boycott NFL games if we keep end racism on the back of the helmets. That's exactly, to me, what this is. This is Snoop Dogg, somebody who has a lot of celebrity and a lot of influence in that same world, coming out talking about how much he hates or he can't handle. He literally just could not handle the idea of there being a lesbian couple with a child in an animated cartoon. In an animated cartoon. So it's a problem. And then the other thing is, it hurts when it comes from him too, because he's not an old white guy. And so this gives license for those type of conservatives and fascists to say, hey, look, this really cool black guy, this really cool rapper, he's really like a gangster rapper. Remember Snoop? Everybody knows Snoop. You grew up on Snoop. Everybody loves Snoop, 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 Snoop. Okay? And then he's saying this nonsense, and then they could point to him, and this is where we get so many of them narratives about the black conservatives, which really black conservatives are like a rare bird, but this is the type of thing that gives them a disproportionate voice, because they're doing the dirty work on behalf of the other side. We do have somewhere else to go with this, y'all. That's really important. So that's what happened, and I think I think it's really problematic, and I ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg. I'm gonna just put it to you like that. But what I wanted to show y'all is this. So this is Olay and friends. And Olay is here, and Mark Lamont Hill is here, and a handful of other creators who I'm familiar with but don't really know their names. And they are all very popular black content creators who all talk about politics, social issues, everything was going on in the world. And by and large, I think they're great. And, I really do try to listen to black voices. And, I really do appreciate, especially when it comes to politics and social issues, having black voices with large audiences and platforms that can really get into the issues. But that is why actually I wanted to talk about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg being an asshole and a jerk and like a low-key conservative, to be honest, is not news. It's just who he is. But what really got me going, y'all, is the response. And basically the way to put it to you is like this. I have realized that to me, black voices, and this is some stuff I can say, y'all can't say this, y'all. I catch some of y'all saying this in the streets, we're gonna have a problem. But for me, black commentators, black analysts, black content creators, whatever, have just completely dropped the ball to a point to where I think at some level, I don't know, the whole thing is just missing for me. It's just not given for me. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. Too many of these people still identify as Christian. And so when these things happen, Christianity gets left off the table. I think in this case, Mark Lamont Hill is a Christian. I don't know about Olay. Some of these other people was mentioned in prayer, this and that. And this is something I just feel about black political commentators overall. I feel the same way about like FD Signifier. I feel the same way about a lot of these people, to where in this stream, we're not going to show you the stream, y'all, because the stream is over an hour. And they get into Lil Nas X and a whole bunch of other stuff. And there's a lot of very critical discussion of what it is like to grow up as a black American. And the absolute rampant homophobia and anti-LGBTQ sentiment that we grew up with, and how much when certain people get together, it's like that becomes the meta, and people almost do this performative anti-LGBTQ stuff because they know it goes along with certain groups. But what is really grinding my gears is like, if you're not going to talk about the connection to faith, if you're not going to talk about where all of those things come from, to me, it just doesn't land. It doesn't fall flat. And it ends up just feeling so safe that it's meaningless. Because when you allow these people, when you talk about all of these things in our culture, all of these prejudice, all this stuff we grew up with, you just allow people to disassociate themselves from that, to distance themselves from that, say, I'm not like that, or I'm not the wegger, or I'm not one of these people, I don't say those things, I don't use those slurs. And there's no accountability for the fact that so much of this shit comes from the church. And the reason we were like this, the reason our communities are like this, is because those bigotries are taught to us in the church, and they are taught to us as part of the religion and part of our religious obligations. And almost every single one of the people in our community that is on that oppressively prejudiced tip does so on behalf of their religion, or uses their religion as the justification. So how can you have this happen? And again, y'all, Snoop Dogg is a born-again Christian. I think in 2019, because Snoop Dogg probably grew up, he was doing his thing. I'm sure he at least didn't seem like a very religious man. I'm going to just put it to you like that. And then I know
Most
at some point...
people don't.
That's what I said. That's why I said seem, because I don't know. Really. But I don't think he was. Then, he did have like kind of a spiritual period where he was really into Rastafarianism. Because I don't know, weed and reggae or something. That's I'm sorry, Snoop. Snoop's not a deep person, so I'm not gonna credit to him that it was some sort of super deep thing. But as of I think 2019 or something, Snoop converted and is a born again Christian. So now again, you have a person who's super MAGA. You have a person who sold us out to the right. You have a person that's all up Donald Trump's booty hole. And of course, now they're a born again Christian, and now they're saying, they can't handle going to see the children's movie with their grandkids because there's a family of two moms. To not put those things together at this point, to me, y'all, is just irresponsible. It is just like you're doing the critical analysis and the critical read, but you're not doing the critical thinking, because I'm just sick of it, y'all. I'm very much exhausted. I'm very much beat down. And actually, I'm very much trying to steal the limelight, y'all. I am so sick of being focused on these Christians, focused on their safety, focused on their security, focused on keeping them comfortable, focused on not challenging them. Let's not talk about it because they'll get uncomfortable. Y'all, honestly, these people make me want to jump off of a bridge. They make me want to jump off of a bridge. I am saying that for those of you that are likewise fed up. And part of what we're sick of is people not caring about our humanity, people not caring about our lives, our suffering, how much this shit is destroying the world around us. And then nobody wants to talk about it. It is so depressing. It is depressing. It is defeating because you have these people, you see what it is, you know what it is, but you won't say anything. So we spend an hour with some of the most popular critical commentators about politics and social issues in our time. And the fact that this man is a born again Christian, and the fact that the religions in our communities are the hotbed and source of this bigotry, they have nothing to say about it. Nothing to say about it. And I'm fed up with it. So that's it. That's my thing. I'm gonna turn it over to you, my one black friend. Oh my goodness.
Well, you can play a clip from here if you have something we should have a look
No, I
at.
can't because it's a what they don't say. So I don't want to play an hour just so y'all can hear what they're not saying. But definitely,
But you can hear what they're saying.
yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of hypocrisy in the United States with people in the Christian religion. I guess I don't know. I'm almost at the point where I say people who say they are Christian rather than trying to identify a person as a Christian. It's not always immediately evidence, and given what I know from reading the Bible multiple times and certain books of the Bible many times, is that a lot of these people don't know what the hell they're talking about when they say they're Christian. Like you don't know what that's supposed to mean. We've spoken before on
I had to
Hot
ask
Program
you because I don't know what you
Yeah.
mean, honestly. Because I honestly get, I hate to say this, but I get this impression that for a lot of, my problem is that on the left, we're trying to out Christian the Christians. And it's crazy. We're trying to out Christian the fascists. Like, to me, the left wants to prove that it loves Jesus more and wants to keep advocating, like, well, I want to see a Christian world, but to me, Christians love everybody and God is love and Jesus came to save you and love, 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 love. I think that is manipulative, lying, narcissistic masking, and actually I think it's incredibly dangerous, and we need to stop sane washing Christianity. So to me, when I see the other side, when I see the bigotry, when I see the genocide, when I see the colonialism, the racism, the sexism, misogyny, the homophobia, all of that stuff, I think that is Christianity. I think that's very Christian. Like what Snoop said,
But
very
but
Christian to me. When people,
again, if you, I guess you know what it is. I think again, it's because of what I know. It's not because of what people tell me they believe or how they practice their faith. I tend to hold Christians to a higher standard. When a person tells me they are a Christian, I know what I'm supposed to think. I know what their standard is, right? They have a Bible that defines what their behavior should be. Statistically, they haven't read it. Statistically, most of what they know about their own religion, they heard from a religious figure like a pastor or something preaching it to them, and not from hours or years of careful study. They know of their religion, they don't know much about their religion. They certainly don't know in large numbers their religion. Um, the fact that the Bible will tell you in the New Testament that Christians are supposed to tame their tongue. So you're not supposed to use foul language. You're not supposed to be a gossip. and so on and so on. Then you got people like what is it, Alan Parr. Alan Parr is super gossipy. He is, but that's not scriptural to be super gossipy. You're not supposed to be gossipy at all. He seems to thrive off of that. At
But
least
I
he
feel
did
like
at
I
one
honestly
point.
I feel like you're
And
cherry picking the good parts in construct, like I feel like we're
okay, but
constructing a Christian. I'm just
wait.
asking,
Pocket
like,
locker. My point is most of the Christians you will meet are cherry picking. They're taking what they want. It's not me cherry picking things. Sure, I can pick things out, but I try to construct a complete picture and not cherry pick.
but
It's
I
just,
get so
again,
answer this
it's
question.
a
I guess I'm asking
higher
like,
standard that most do not meet
but that's
at
what but
all.
I don't understand that because when I meet a Christian, I hold them to a lower standard, and it seems like to me, like you say, like I have when I see a Christian, I expect them to, you know, love their neighbor and be modest and not have a foul tongue and not gossip. Why is it not when I meet a Christian, I expect them to be prejudiced against LGBTQ people, to believe that men are superior to women and women are essentially property, to believe that most people will burn in hell for eternity because they did not worship the right faith or did not worship Jesus even in the correct way, that they worship a God who literally destroyed everything on the planet except for two of each animal and one family of humans, as though that was supposed to make it better. Then said, "Sorry, my bad. I won't drown you all again. Next time I'll do it by fire." Like I'm trying. So like I don't. To me, I think, especially as atheists, I literally think we got to get out of this Christian game. And this is a thing.
Well,
It's not just you, my friend.
let me address your
This is
point.
my thing
Let
in
me
the whole
address your
community
point.
now.
Please let me address your
Sure,
point.
sure.
So perhaps I should take your point of view, but I am not somebody who has grown weary of challenging people when they say, "Oh, I'm a Christian and this is what I believe," and so on and so on. I talked to you in our audience about Father Tom, who I would have like Thanksgiving dinner with or Christmas dinner with, and how his views weren't necessarily his views of God weren't necessarily entirely biblical. He had chosen to believe in a God that was a God of mercy and not the God of wrath. His God had compassion because he did, right? He is mapping the very best of who he was onto God, and many Christians will do that. Sadly, many Christians will map the worst of who they are onto themselves from that God, right? If he's going to be vengeful, they should be too. If he doesn't like it, they shouldn't either. And so I think and this is not me saying everybody feels sorry for Christians, but I think everybody try to understand it's not an easy road for people to necessarily pick and choose. As you well know, I'm sure in your career you studied psychology when you were a student. And it is so easy to put things into the mind of the average person and get them to switch certain behaviors on or off and make real permanent changes or semi permanent changes that last for decades with very little effort because people are generally impressionable. Um, I don't believe, as you well know, as most of our audience will know, I don't believe that the Bible is pure truth. I think there's some good moral lessons in there, and there's some shockingly awful things in there too. And I think the bad outweighs the good. However, I think, generally speaking, in society, people who say they are Christians generally focus on the good. Some of them will do the good. And I've said it before many times. If you want to see the true believers, look at the monks and nuns who gave it all up. They gave it all up to follow Jesus or serve the church or what have you. That's impressive to me. People who won't do it, I'm going, well, I get it. Somebody's got to shoe a horse, right? Somebody's got to run a bank. Um, the nuns and the monks aren't doing that, as far as I know. So they can't all have the same set of careers. But it does seem like the general idea was that in the first century, the world was coming to an end. So you can leave all that other stuff behind and come and join us, and let's join hands and sing on Saturday, which was the Sabbath back
I
then.
think we're cooked.
You know,
I think we're cooked because it, I just think all of this is the wrong way. It is the way. This is just me. I'm not really in lockstep with the rest of this community, but I just think we're cooked. First off, I don't think the Bible is a good moral book. And let me be clear about this. I don't care about those good lessons. Those good lessons, I can't overstate them enough. They mean jack shit to me. First off, they're mundane. Anything you can find in the Bible that is a good moral teaching was already around, was already a good moral teaching. And in the year
in a different
2025,
form.
we can't even afford to give people the impression of anything different. Like, because that's what they want to say. These people literally want to say, oh, well, there's good parts because my God's great because my God said you shouldn't steal. And my God said don't kill. And my God said don't lust after your neighbor's wife. Again, bro, like, it's just basic to not kill, to not steal. You probably can't control whether or not you lust after your neighbor's wife, but don't actually go pursuing them. That's destructive to communities and relationships and families and all this type of stuff. Now, it is a problem, number one, to pretend that these are profound moral lessons that deserve respect and acknowledgement of a holy being. To know that, again, sorry, if you can't not kill, steal, and cheat on your spouse, unless God tells you, you're not a good person. So right there, they're not good lessons. Also, moral guides are moral guides. You may not like the law, but if you read a book of laws, at least that's up to date, they're in fact all the law. Okay, you may not jive with everything I need to learn. I learned in kindergarten, but everything on there is pretty safe or like a good idea. Okay. Matter of fact, going back to the point about being mundane, I've read it on stream before. But if y'all pull up the phrase, pull up the poster, everything I need to learn, I learned in kindergarten. You know, it's like look both ways before you cross the street, share your snacks, take a nap, be nice to other people. You know, like all this basic stuff. To me, that's the level of Christianity. It is literally everything I need to learn, I learned in kindergarten, but I got a grown person in their 50s or 60s pretending I need the Bible to know these things. The other thing is, like I said, moral guides only contain moral behavior. So the good thing about everything I need to learn I learned in kindergarten is it doesn't ever suggest sacrificing your son. It doesn't ever, tell you that a woman who was raped needs to marry a rapist. It doesn't ever command slavery, right? So when people say that, me personally, like my skin crawls when I hear people talk about good news in Bible or it's got some good stuff in it, because to me, it just can't. Like, a moral guide should be a moral guide. If it says do really good things, but it also says do really bad things, it's not a moral guide. And because when you endorse the book, you endorse the book. You don't get to decide whether people go to the good thing or the bad thing. So, and then the other thing that really gets me with that is it's just reputation laundering. It's just making it worse. It's just dragging it out. Listen, y'all, Christians are ruining everything around us. Again, we are in the black bag, unmarked vehicles, kidnapping foreigners off the streets. I shouldn't even say foreign, just kidnapping brown people off the streets and assuming they maybe we can deport them. If not, we'll just send them to alligator Alcatraz till we figure it out. We are in the actively supporting and funding and paying for the bombs that are blowing up children in the Middle East. Our president rolled out the red carpet. Like, gang, the list goes on. The war against LGBTQ people, all the racist crap happening, right? You can't even, like, a lot of us are losing our jobs and shit. Like, times are really, really, really bad. And to my take, at least living in America, it's Christians that are doing a ton of this to us. So, to me, the whole era of, oh, you know, I want the good ones to do good things, and then I want them to uphold the good parts of the Bible, and then go influence that is a suicide mission to me. That is a suicide mission to me. Even when you brought up the nuns and the priests and the stuff like that, I used to feel the same way. I don't feel the same way anymore. Because again, what are most of them people doing? They're reinforcing the idea that dedicating your life to this God is a good idea. And then again, most of them are involved in stuff I would consider scandalous. They're probably educating.
I don't know that we can say most.
I would say all of them are engaged in something scandalous, right? Because they're either doing what the priest did at my school, which was they're supposed to be educating the children, but they're also fucking the children. Okay, I lived through that. Okay, I had a pastor who also like went to jail for not paying taxes and like robbing the church as he was trying to build some school that we didn't need. And you know, and then a lot of them are doing mission work, or they're colonizing Africa or whatever it is, or they're sitting around in a room trying to figure out, you know, how to avoid taking, you know, legal and criminal accountability for all the victimization that's gone on under their watch. Like, we just have to realize this Christianity thing is intends to kill us, and that it is anti-human, that it literally, like, these people literally, part of their plan is literally the end of the world. And so I just don't understand what it's going to take for us to just say enough is enough, this stuff isn't true. I think that's really the issue. Is that the issue I have is, I think we're dealing with two things. One, I think, is a severe lack of moral clarity. I think so many of us has gotten so comfortable, so many of us gotten so comfortable with Christianity that we are, one, we're just afraid of them, right? They really controlled our lives growing up, and even now our family's dominated by this stuff. So I think for a lot of people, there's a real fear that if I take a stand, if I speak my mind, if I say what I really say, it's gonna have potentially do a lot of damage to my life. And I would say, y'all, like, you got to feel the fear and do it anyway. Especially as atheists, look at what our trans brothers and sisters do. You know, I have so much respect for them, and part of it is because they live their truth knowing how dangerous it is to do so. Whereas I see a lot of atheists, atheists is something you can easily hide, you can just not talk about, or not bring up. And honestly, I just see so much cowardice, because if atheists lived our truth the same way trans people do, in spite of the persecution, in face of all the ridiculousness, man, I really think we'd change the world. But for some reason, atheists don't have that same conviction. And they also don't realize, for some reason, just how oppressive religious dominance will be to us. And so I don't get it. I don't understand, like, what will it take for atheists to realize this religious stuff has nothing to offer me. I would maybe the world I live in is dominated by religion. Maybe it will continue to be, and maybe there's absolutely nothing I can do about that. But I damn sure ain't gonna fight. I'm damn sure gonna fight. I damn sure don't again, it's like being black. There's always gonna be racism. There's always gonna be problems. It's always gonna be difficult. But why would we stop fighting against it? So I don't know, yeah. That's where I'm at. This is a tough one.
Well, I think it's important to always make your stand, and I couldn't agree more with about trans people living their truth. I think it's a very brave thing to say, that for someone to say I've been assigned the wrong gender at birth and let me go on and be who I really am. I think people who want to be uh, whatever, a rock star can't get there, right? I got to get a safe job. I can't expect that that'll happen for me. And what are the ramifications? Like, are they going to be shamed by society if they try to be a rock star and they fail? Probably not. Not even the people who know them from their hometown. Like, hey, dude, you tried. That's all you can do. And if they'd hit the big time and was somewhere on the order of like an Elton John at that level, then who's not going to cheer for that? Like, hey, congratulations, you went for it and you made it. I think a lot of times in our society, there's a lack of courage for people to sort of go for who they are, who they think they are. And, you don't always make it. But as far as the cruelty that you speak about and the hypocrisy, and um, I think it is, I, you've heard me say this before. I think a lot of people who are Christians wear it like it's a jersey. The religion's like a jersey. They don't play the game. Today's a Colts game, and my friends that I have breakfast with, I was the only one not wearing Indianapolis Colts themed merchandise. I don't have any of it. And I can't name you one player on the Colts team, but I'm not a fan, and I don't claim to be. I bet you they can name some of those players and talk about those players quite intelligently, um, but it's not part of what I do. It's not part of who I am. And when they give me a jersey and all that stuff, because there was talk of that, I'm still not gonna know. And I think that's where a lot of Christians find themselves. They've got the jersey, they've never played the game, and they can tell you very little about it. It's just what they like to call themselves, and some of it they might even like
So
to believe.
why not
But
make that to me should be something that's incredibly uncomfortable. That is something nobody should be okay with. Nobody should be okay with somebody
well,
identifying with something that harms other people that they don't understand, that isn't even true. And that's what I'm saying, because they're walking around with the jersey, but that, y'all, I feel like we're playing a game. And my life is not a game. My life is not a fucking joke. I got a very limited window on this planet before I clock all the way up out of here. And I feel like people are still acting like it's cute to believe these things that are so harmful. Like, no, like, again, like, these people are responsible. Like, if because what you're doing is you're being a nice Nazi. And hey, I'm not a Nazi because I'm a bigot. I'm not a Nazi because I hate Jews. I'm a Nazi because the Nazis pay well and they pay on time. There's a lot of people, y'all. Do yourself a favor. Try to get yourself into World War II history without becoming a Hitler sycophant. But you will see that lots of interviews, not just with people who are actively part of the Third Reich, but people who were also just like contractors and stuff like that. And when they reflect, it is some stone cold shit, y'all. But when they reflect, they will look straight in the camera and say that the Nazis paid well, they paid on time. Okay, so that's what these people are doing. Even the nice, good Christian, like, you're not helping. You're not helping because you're never going to make Christianity good. You're never going to be able. So all you can do is sucker more people in. And that's what they're trying to do, is they sucker more people into Christianity. They continue to normalize it. So funny thing, Snoop Dogg he didn't know how to handle two women having a family. He didn't know how to explain that to his grandkid, but I bet you he knows how to explain that to that grandkid's need for salvation. I bet you if he's a real Christian, he'll be able to ask that question. Why are you a Christian? Why are you a Christian,
how well?
Papa Snoop?
But how well? That again, it's so many have a casual, surface level knowledge. Can I don't
But
know
my
Snoop
point is,
Dogg.
why is he not
I've never had
clutching
a
his pearls
conversation
over?
with
My
him.
point is, he won't clutch his pearls over that. He'll be
But
comfortable, right? He'll be
my
comfortable.
point being is, my point is, could he have a sophisticated conversation about his own theology, the theology behind Christianity? Can he do that? Is he just when he's nah, G, you just got to believe in Jesus, yo, and that's all he has, right? There's nothing about hermeneutics. There's no deep discussions about the letters of Paul, how many are authentic. There's no understanding about literature at the time that the Bible may be responding to. There's none of that's in there for him. It's if it's just you got to believe in Jesus, yo, and that's all that's there. That is surface level stuff. That is Jersey level stuff.
Yeah, but nobody was asking him to write a research paper on
But again,
how babies
my
are
my
made.
my point is gradations. There are gradations of understanding. There are gradations of
So
belief.
what level of gradation do you get to when all of a sudden it becomes true? Or what level of gradation do you get to when
Well,
all of a sudden it's not bigoted anymore? I don't know, because to me this gets into you don't need anything to join Christianity. All you got to do is say I love Jesus. Okay, you're a Christian, but to leave you need a PhD.
pray them into your heart. You don't have to study at length. That always astonished me. Like, wait, where's the process here?
Why is
Why
that
isn't this more
astonishing?
involved? If I went into the
No, you don't put
Marines,
barriers. You
the
don't put
Marines have a
barriers
lot to teach me.
between you and other people's money. That's why it's that way.
Well, I Pocket Locker, I agree. I have said like it seemed like it started off as a very sophisticated scam. I've said that openly. I don't, and I still feel that way. It was it feels like it was a scam based on this very good writing project some students have that was well received by audiences who thought it was true. We have historical proof that that has
But
happened
that's exactly
before.
my thing. So why is it that black? That's what I mean. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we're just cooked because if the voices we're leaning on, especially in black spaces and to deal with black issues, will not even say that. That's why we're cooked.
Hmm.
That's why we're cooked. Is because we spent not us but them. They spent an hour talking about Snoop Dogg, all this bigoted content, all the toxic culture we grew up in, all the homophobia that was an everyday part of black life, how it impacted our families, and y'all don't want to go there to talk about how it's the religion that did it and that religion is a scam. And that's why that because the religion is a scam and black people have so much allegiance to it, they can't call out the problems that Christianity causes because they're not willing or ready to cope with the fact that it's a scam and that they'd have to leave or no longer identify as Christians. But I'm sorry, I'm not trying to keep these people safe anymore. Especially because again, that is irresponsible. How dare you look at this moment, understand, man, this is bad. We got to do a whole show about this because what Snoop Dogg just said is incredibly harmful to our LGBTQ community. And then y'all all sit up here, continue to identify as Christians, and won't even call out the role the religion and the church plays in causing that harm to begin with. So how can black people ever free themselves from this if y'all don't want to talk about it? So that's it. I don't really have anything else to even say about this. It's just we're cooked. I'm just in a different place right now. I just don't. To me, it comes down to two things. You're either a victim or a perpetrator. Now, I'm willing with most people to assume sorry, I said you're either a victim or a perpetrator. With most people, I'm willing to assume you're a victim. You didn't know, you're not aware. First off, I gotta be honest with you, I don't think that's really true. I really don't think it's true. But I think if you're trying to get through to people, it's a better place to start. But I think the reason most people don't actually have these conversations with people in their lives, and the reason most of us don't confront the people in our lives about these things, is because they're not victims anymore. They are now perpetrators. Because you can try to have the conversation with them. Hey, I don't think this stuff is true. Hey, have you ever thought about this? You ever looked into it? Maybe let's talk about some of these issues. You're going to quickly realize that they're not interested in learning, especially not learning in a way that moves them away from their faith. So they're going to double down, and ultimately they're going to start doing the apologetics. Everybody in your life that's a believer will do apologetics if you actually challenge their faith. And so I think for a lot of us, and I'm speaking about atheists, we have cognitive dissonance. We in our heads, in our hearts, I should say, we want to believe that the people in our life are reasonable, they're smart, they're really kind, they really care about others, yada yada yada. And that might be true in other areas of their life. But the cognitive dissonance comes in when you actually talk to them about their faith and you realize that that's not true. Matter of fact, even on this anti-LGBTQ stuff, that's why most Christians shut up about it. Because believe it or not, they're really not on the side of the LGBTQ folks. They may think that's an ugly side, or they may say something like, that's not my God loves everybody. They may say,
which isn't the
God of the Bible at all. Exactly. They may say a whole bunch of stuff, but at the end of the day, because they're Christian, they do believe that that's in the Word of God, and they do believe a lot of times that it's sinful. They do believe a lot of time that it's against nature. Okay, they just don't go as far as the conservatives to say, the government should, take away your rights to exist. And to be honest with you, they might as well. Because you can't endorse this thing called Christianity. You can't endorse this thing called religion without giving more credence to all of those things that are problematic. And again, if you really think it's sinful, or you really think it's against nature, or you really think it's against what God commands, that's not actually helpful. So the only thing that really gets us where we need to go in the end, y'all, is we gotta do away with this thing. It's just, but yeah, y'all let me know when y'all are ready, I guess.
Wake me up when it's over.
Yeah, wake me up when it's over, right? But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Let's get up out of here, man. You want to give us your closing thoughts?
Thank you all for watching, and thank you, Pocket Locker, for setting all this up as you normally do. I think we live in a society where things could be a whole lot easier if we just chose to respect each other and not step on each other's freedoms. Most of us will live nice, decent lives regardless of income levels, sexual preference, or anything of that nature, body types, and so on and so on and so on, because we want a nice, peaceful life. And most people are willing to comply with that. If you don't like me because of my skin color, or when my hair is funky or something like that, you know what? Chances are we will never interact. And you can always choose to say, look, well, I'm going to have one or two interactions with you, and I'm going to make sure that I look good when I do it by not trying to make you look bad. If your mind has to go there, then that's a whole lot better than places where it could go, where you're saying intentionally the wrong thing or doing intentionally the wrong thing. all to make someone else's life miserable or to make their day bad, and it benefits you in no possible way. So that's all I gotta say.
All right, gang. Yeah, for me, it's just I don't know. We reached a very frustrating time for me where y'all know it's like everybody on the left is like selling us out. We're gonna talk about that whole thing with them taking all this dark money. Um, the right's gone crazy. The atheists don't really want to challenge religion. Black folk don't want to talk about it. I just really feel like we're not meeting the moment. We're really not meeting the moment, and it makes me feel like it's up to the future. Like in the future, they'll look back at us when we're distant history and say, "What on earth were y'all doing?" So it's just tough right now because I feel like, again, this goes back to that stream I did. The theater's on fire. All the exits are closed. Where it just feels like we're in a really, really difficult time when things are really, really real, but no one is really ready to do what we need to do to make the changes we need to make. And I do think it starts with changing our communities, changing the people around us, and really having to fight. Remember that women's suffrage, women's equality has not been really achieved yet. But those strides that have been made were made as the result of a fight. They came from protest, they came from political organization, they came from active resistance. The civil rights movement was a struggle, called the struggle. It's called the civil rights, it's a movement. You can't just sit around being comfortable in the status quo and expecting things to change. So I think humanism, secular morality needs to have a similar call to arms, for lack of a better way to put it. And that's what I think we're trying to do, is we're trying to get things to change civilly so that we don't end up in the need for a bloody or more extreme revolution. All right, y'all. Like I said, we're trying to test out our new virtual headquarters space. So there's a link in the chat. It's pinned at the top of the live chat on my channel, and there's also a link in the description wherever you're watching this. We'll have a lot going on today, but you can jump in this space and help us test things out and hang out with the gang. And come do that. Also, remember, tomorrow on Skeptic Haven, we'll be doing Black Free Thinkers, and we have a really, really good episode lined up for tomorrow. So come check us out on Skeptic Haven at 8 p.m. Eastern. Otherwise, we will be back next week. Don't forget, there's also a link in the description. You can join my Linktree and find our Discord and the other channels and stuff like that. So hopefully I'll see some of you in our new virtual office space today. That's the Work Adventure link. And otherwise, we'll see you next time. Be good to yourselves.
Yes.